Greetings everybody, Spirit Does Fashion here today, and for today I've got an assortment of Pokemon inspired themes across the span of 6 Warframes that I think you'll enjoy. Of the 6, I will show you the original one that I made. Now, this is my fashion of the legendary Pokemon Suicune. As you can see, she's looks pretty accurate, because as you know me, I go for accuracy and I don't do any guessing. I need a picture of there with me to do it properly. For the helmet, you just need the prime. For the Varuna, for the skin, I would say the Kuveil Dracanis. For the animation set, I'll leave it up to you. I used Mirage Noble. For the primary colour and the secondary, simply use this blue from the Ice palette. If you don't have it, you will need to find an alternative. If for the tertiary, you want white, because Suicune's underbelly and in places it's white. For the accents, use this blue here from Key Tier. For the energy colour, now if you want to reflect her eyes, I would add the red and a little bit of the blue because it's a bit nicer. And for the energy, light blues will work just fine. For the attachments, I use the Fender X chest plate because it just plain looks nice, and at the moment I'm really stuck in using it. With the shoulders, I would recommend the Day of the Dead Saturn 6 attachments because they look nice and they have a wind colour effect on them. The leg armour is not really necessary, but I used the Pakao leg guard. And for the ephemera, I used the Conqueror 2. Now you can use Conqueror 1 if you want to go for her ribbon effect, because that's what it gives off. And for the colours, for the energy, you will need to change it after you've copied the main colours. For the Signa, I've used the Pragmatica because at this point there's not really any Signas that resemble the crystal that sat on her head. That's the flagship for the actual game itself, Pokemon Crystal. For the Syandana, you want to be using Lichen Blight Syandana. Now as you can see, it looks like fluff, it looks like a cloud, and I would change it to colours from Twilight because you want purple. For the primary, I would use this purple from Emission. And Eminence, I should say. Tertiary and accents can be the same purple, which is this one from Twilight. The emissive, for this I would recommend adding this Eminence colour, and for the energy add this pale blue, or pale purple I should say, from Eminence as well. And there you go, that is my fashion of Suicune, the legendary beast Pokemon. You can see this is my fashion of the Pokemon Raikou. Now this is another one of the legendary beast Pokemon, and because it resembles a cat with like a bit of a jaguar-y leopard sort of design to it, I decided to go with the Korra Miyabi skin. For this I simply just used this yellow here from Fire. Now from Fire, you will need this palette mostly because that's the palette I've used the most in this fashion. As per the secondary, I would just use it white because that's what Raikou is. And then for the copy, the yellow that you used for the tertiary. For the accents, I would add black. Now you don't need to make it too black, because if you make it too black, you won't be able to see the details on any of the metallics, including like the spikes and whatnot, because it will just make it go completely black. For the emissives and the energy, just make them simply this yellow, or any other yellow that you've got available, because there are multiple in this game. Same for the energy. For the attachments, I would recommend the Kishikami chest armor because it adds a little bit more flair to her chest area, covers up the gap, but it makes a bit more look to it. I didn't really use any shoulder armor because at this point I don't think there are any options that sit right on her. You can feel free to quote me and I will check those parts. For the legs, I used the halter. Now you may need to swap that back to the normal yellow. For the ephemera, I would use the Vengeful Charge. Now you will have to get this from a Kuvelich. If you don't, you can either be obtained through trading with another player or by grinding the Kuvelich itself. With the Signa, I used Zuzumeru, and you need to put it on 0.2. You can't really see it, but it's there. For the colours, on the primary, I would use the white, followed by the secondary being a black. The tertiary, the same yellow that you use from the main, and the accents, to be like a grey so it doesn't fade out all of the metallics. The emissive and the energy can be exactly the same colour, as it will give you a colour of the electrical energy. For the Syndana, again, Lichen Blight, because in my opinion, there's no better option. Use primary colour, this one here. You might want to change it to that one based on what colour of Raikou you want to use, because it can be either yellow or it could be like an orangey yellow. For the secondary, I would use this purple because it looks like a purple storm cloud, followed by this purple from an eminence, and the same on the accents. For the energy colour, I have used blue and yellow. For some reason, I have no idea why, but for the energy colour followed, I used yellow. So there you go. That is my fashion of Raikou, the legendary beast Pokemon from Pokemon Johto region. Top off the trio, this is my fashion of Entei. Now, as you can see, I've used the Nezha Prime helmet because it's my favourite out of all of his helmets. The Empyrean skin because it gives him a bit more of a bulk. And for the colours, I would recommend using this brown from Grenier, and tertiary, this brown from Twilight. For the secondary, use red because there's not much red on him when you look overall. And on the accents, I would use this orange because it's mostly just there to add a bit more of like a regal effect, since he looks like a regal lion sort of beast. For the emissive, I simply used red and orange because this makes it look like he's on fire. And to get this, you will need to have formed him at least once. For the attachments, I've used the Kuva-Toulon. Now, you will need to buy the Kuvalich bundle from the market. It is 820 plat on console, not sure how much it is on PC. For the legs and the heartwood, I would use heartwood shoulders, and for the legs, Zyrax, because I love it. For the ephemera, I use the Vengeful Toxin. Now, I prefer this one because it looks more like flowing fire, and it leaves a trail of fire when you move, or a cloudy effect that looks like fire. For the Signa, I used Flanken because it makes it look like he's got that grey bit on the face that you can't really add with anything else. As per the colours, now I'm pretty sure, no I didn't. Okay, for the colours, just use a red that you can get from Light and Dark or from Halloween palettes. For the secondary, add this lightish grey because it makes the helmet up there look like it's that bit in front of his mouth. For the tertiary, add this. Now, you could probably use a different one, it's up to you, because Entei's got that chest colour and it needs to be reflected in some form or way. For the accents, I would use a dark grey, followed by the emissives of orange and red. Next up, on the Syndana, I would use the Lichen Blight Syndana, and you need to make it look like smoke. Now, you use the light grey mixed with a slightly darker grey, and then a slightly even darker grey, and the emissives just make it black, so it makes it all no colour. And for the primary, just use this brown from Twilight. That is my Entei fashion. I hope you liked it. Let's move on to the next Pokemon, which is Ho-Oh. Next up, this is my fashion of the legendary Pokemon Ho-Oh. Now, this is the flagship Pokemon of the game Pokemon Gold. So moving on to this with the colours, when you look at Ho-Oh, he's got like an orangey effect, or she. I'm pretty sure there's no gender at all on the legendary Pokemon. So for this, you will need this orangey red from Fire, copy it over to tertiary and do the same. On secondary, make it white. On the accents, now when you look at Ho-Oh, the edge of the wings have like a spring green sort of colour. So I would recommend maybe one of these two greens from the Grenier palette, followed by the energies being orange and red, and then yellow and orange to reflect like a fiery effect when you're using Zephyr, because when you look at Ho-Oh, it's a firebird, a massive phoenix. For the chest, now I didn't really use anything because it wasn't really necessary. On the arms, I've used the Heartwood shoulder plates. Now, to get these, you will need to buy the Titania Deluxe that was out before the latest one, which was the more nature-looking inspired one. Protovia leg armor on the legs. It's not really necessary because, well, it's all right. It looks all right. For the ephemera, now I've used the Akuri Prime Tails ephemera. Now you might want to use something else if you don't have this. I would recommend maybe using the Didima, and changing the colours to resemble like a goldy flakes. For the Signa, use Visor, because I will think it makes it look like it's more of a beak. For this, I want you to put it over to 0.42. For the primary colours, now this is all the same colour, so you will need this one from Fire, and then copy it over to primary, secondary, and accents. For the tertiary, add orange. For the emissives, add orange with like the green, so see if you can add a bit more energy to it. And on the energy, it's yellow, to give that yellowy gold tail that flows behind the Pokemon itself. For the Syandana, I simply just used the Radia Syandana. Now this is obtained through the Nova Atomica bundle, so you will need to purchase that full bundle to get that Syandana. For the colours, just simply copy the attachments and that is fine. And there you go, that is my fashion of the legendary Pokemon Johto. Let's move on to the next one. This is my fashion of, if you can tell, Lugia. Now as you can see, Lugia has mostly white on their body and blue in places like the eyes, the ears, the tail, the spikes and the chest. So what you want to be doing is you want to be getting the Nova Quantum helmet, because it is the closest one that she's got to looking like the back horn of Lugia's head, followed by the Nova Mithra skin. Now you could probably use a different option for this, it's up to you what you use. I really used it like this because I like the smooth texture of it, followed by the Mirage Noble animation. Now it's up to you as well, you could probably just use Wisp Agile to look like it's flowing through water, but what I used this primary colour of whitish blue, which is down here from Ice, and then copy that to the secondary and the tertiary, because that will be the colour of the skin. For the accents, add this navy blue, which is from Transmission. For the energy colour, just go with light blues, because it's where you always see the Pokemon using like watery effects and whatnot. So on the attachments, if you've got it, I would use the Kuva Tolon from the Kuvalich bundle, followed by the Lamasu Tenogen shoulder armour and the Zyrax Tenogen armour. For the ephemera, no, this is the Apula ephemera. Apula? I'm not really sure how it's pronounced. But for it, you will need to go over to Vaja and spend 10 Aya. Not Regal, it's just normal, so don't worry too much about it. For the Signa, I used a Rato Signa to pull off the navy blue bits that are usually hung over where the eyes are. And that's how I did the attachments. For the primary, use the navy blue that you used from Transmission. Same for on the secondary, use white, and on the accents as well. For the tertiary, use the exact same blue from the what was it called again? It was Transmission. For the emissive color, now this will change a Poliv if you do it on the energy. The Opula, it will make it blue. So just simply do Transmission and, well, both Transmission, and do the same on the emissive. Now for the Syandana, you're probably going to want to use wings or something. I didn't, because when you look at Lugia, it doesn't have wing-like things, it just has these arms that look like wings. And for the primary, use white. For the rest of it, just use the same blue that you used from the Transmission, which is this top left corner. And there you go. For the sigil, by the way, on the front, just use whatever you've got that you think will fit that fit that chest, and there you go, that is Lugia. Right, final of the 6 fashions. This is my fashion of Celebi. Now as you can see, I've used the Titanium Ori helmet in combination with visor because it just looks right, and it kind of looks like a bit of a bee, I think, maybe a wasp. For the skin, I use Titania Empress because it just looks nice. And for the colours, I would recommend this green from Grenier. For the secondary, this pale green from Halloween palette. Now you may need to find another alternative if you don't have it. For the tertiary, use this green here from Grenier, and then use this accent from Grenier as well, though you might want to use Halloween for it as well, because when you look at her, or him, or it, for Celebi, it is always just 2 greens and that's it. For the energy colour, use white and blue because it will give the wing colour. For the energy, add green. For the attachments, use the Kuratolon again, because if you haven't got it, you will need to find an alternative. Lamarsu, because you want to add a bit more of the pale yellow green to the arms, because, well, the legs are the only like solid green part of the limbs for Celebi. On the legs, I used Halter. Now you will need to get the Loki Deluxe Knave bundle if you want to get it. For the wings, I added the Titania Moiteran skin wings because it just looks pretty nice and it adds a bit more fairy to it. For the ephemera, I used the Didima, which gives the kind of fairy dusty sort of effect. For the Signa, I used Visor, as you know, and set it to 0.22 for this effect on the helmet. For the colours, you basically just copy what you've got from the main colours, but rearrange them so that it's set out like this. So remember, it's this green from Halloween and this green from the Grenier palette. Now, for the Syandana, I used the Aspirant Syandana because, quite frankly, I just like how it looks. You don't really need to add anything. And there you go. That is my fashion of Celebi. I hope it was to your liking. Folks, this is the end of the video. I hope you made it this far. I'd like to thank you for watching and subscribing to my channel. Now, if you wouldn't mind, please like, share and subscribe. And don't forget to maybe leave a comment down below if you really liked any of these fashions. Personally, my favourite is Lugia and Suicune because, in my opinion, they are the most accurate. See you in the next video then, guys. Have a good one and peace out.